Today we're going to be looking at how to use paper within the classroom, and all you need is paper and some pens. Okay, so the first activity that I like to do is to try and reinforce positive feedback. And if students are using English in the classroom, all you can do is have a piece of paper and write down excellent English. The second thing that I like to use paper for in the classroom is to try and teach vocabulary and matching pronunciation with the words. What you need to do is you need to rip the paper into quarters. The next thing that you need to do is you need to write down the key word that you're going to be teaching the students. So we have the key word, which is this one here. And the next thing that you need to do is I like to use a different colour pen and write out the phonemic script. You can get students to match the word with the phonemic script. The third thing that I like to incorporate in the classroom with pieces of paper is actually using this. You have half the class and you give half the class the keywords and you give the other half of the class the phonemic spelling, and they have to try and find their partner, and it's a lovely grouping exercise. The fourth thing that I like to try and incorporate is by putting up all the words around the classroom. So you could have all these words around the classroom and the students have to go round and try and memorise them. And once you've got them sitting back down, they have to try and memorise as many words as they've read around the classroom. The fifth thing that I like to use with paper is I like to organise groups of students in 2 rows, and they're sitting towards the whiteboard. The students at the front of the class, you give them a pen each and you get them to think of a team name. The next thing that you need to do is you go to the back of the class and you tell both last students at the back of the class in either row, and you show them the word and they have to whisper the word to the front of the class, and if the student and the team get it correct, you give them a point. The next activity that I like to try and do is I like to dictate questions to students, and the students have to write the question and the answer on the piece of paper. And you could give them between 5 and 10 questions, and then you collect all the pieces of paper and make sure that they write their name at the top, and you're going to read out some of the interesting answers and make sure you use a range of questions such as what was the funniest day that you had last week, or what was the strangest food that you've eaten. You read out all the answers and the students have to guess which student wrote their answer on the piece of paper. Tip number 7. Now, with this activity, what I like to do with pieces of paper is I like to write down questions on the piece of paper, and I cut up all the questions, stick them up around the classroom, put students into pairs, and they have to ask each other and discuss the question together. Tip number 8 is trying to get students to draw in the classroom. Now this one is quite a competitive, interesting game, and you get 2 pairs of students sitting opposite each other, and one student has a picture and the other student has the piece of paper and some pens, and the student with the picture has to describe what they see to the other student, and the student has to listen and try and draw as best as possible. You can encourage questions amongst the students to just clarify what image is there and describing the image, and then at the end of it, where you finish, you could give them a time limit for say 3 minutes, and the students compare the picture to what they've drawn on the paper. Activity number 9. Now this activity is you get students to try and memorise the words that you have introduced. So you can either stick up the words up on the whiteboard, or you could put the words up at the front desk and the students have to close their eyes or turn round for 5 seconds, and then you take a word away. The students then have to try and remember which word is taken, and they have to write down their idea on a piece of paper or in their notebook. The final activity is trying to get students to write creatively in a fun and engaging way, just by using a piece of paper. And what you need to do is you need to prepare a couple of things for students to think about, like character, the story, the challenge that the character came across, and the achievement and what he achieved or she achieved at the end of the story. And you get students to start writing their story, you give them a minute, and you say stop. Then they have to get their piece of paper. I like to roll it up and get them to throw the piece of paper around the classroom, and when the music stops, for example, or if you clap, they pick the nearest piece of paper next to them, they unravel it, and they then have to continue the story with whatever they're given. And you continue on until the students have all finished, and then you start to put up all the stories around the classroom, and they have to vote on their favourite story that was written. Now, I'm going to give you a bonus activity that I like to use with just paper. And this one is really a good one for your first class. And like the last activity, I like to use a piece of paper rolled up into a ball, and I like to throw it to a student and then ask them a question they have to answer as they catch it. So, what's your name? And they go, oh, my name's Martin. Boom. How old are you? I'm years old. And so on and so on. And you try and memorise all the students' names and everything else. And then this is really fun and engaging first lesson activity. And you get all the students standing up and moving around. And you get students to ask their own questions as well. I hope this video was useful. If you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit the notification bell. This will tell you when I upload a new video, and it will be great to see you again. Please comment below, let me know what your favourite paper-based activity in the classroom is, and also let me know what sort of video you'd like to see next time. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time, and happy teaching. Bye bye.